Wow, this one's going to be tough. We're going deep on a White House video today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and
Heavy topic.
really heavy. It's about immigration, crime, and it even features a celebrity caught in the middle of it all.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So the video features these three mothers, and their stories are just heartbreaking. They each lost their daughters to crimes committed by undocumented immigrants.
I see. So
And this video is actually a direct response to Selena Gomez.
Selena Gomez, the singer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
She had made this video expressing how distressed she was about increased deportations.
Oh, right. I remember that.
Yeah, so the White House video is essentially trying to present a counter-narrative.
Okay. So they're using these personal tragedies to make a political point.
Exactly.
That's pretty powerful.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they're putting a human face on the consequences of what they consider lax immigration policies.
Right. It's one thing to talk about statistics and policy, but when you see the grief of these mothers, it really hits home.
Absolutely. So the three mothers in the video are Tammy Nobles, Patty Morin, and Alexis Nungare. And each of their stories is just devastating.
Okay, so let's hear their stories.
Yeah. So Tammy Nobles, her daughter, Kathy Hamilton, was killed and raped by an undocumented immigrant from El Salvador.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and in the video, Tammy actually addresses Selena Gomez directly.
Really?
She asks her, like, who are you crying for? What about our children who were brutally murdered?
Wow, that's intense.
Yeah, you can really feel her pain, you know?
Yeah, I bet.
It's just raw emotion.
Right, and that kind of story, it really taps into a deep-seated fear.
What do you mean?
Well, the fear that undocumented immigrants pose a threat to our communities.
Yeah, I can see how someone would feel that way.
Right, and that narrative, while powerful, it's not necessarily the whole picture.
Oh, so there's more to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a lot of studies that show that immigrants, regardless of their legal status, they actually commit crimes at lower rates than native-born citizens.
Okay, that's interesting. So why do we keep hearing about these cases?
Well, because these tragic stories, like Tammy's, they often get amplified in the media and in political discourse.
So it creates this perception that the risk is much higher than it actually is.
Exactly. And that fear, it's incredibly powerful in shaping public opinion and ultimately policy.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So let's move on to the next mother, Patty Morin.
Yeah.
Her daughter, Rachel Morin, was found dead on a Maryland trail. And the suspect in her case, Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez, is also an undocumented immigrant.
Wow, another tragedy.
Yeah, and Patty's reaction to Selena Gomez's video is particularly interesting.
How so?
Well, she basically calls it a ruse.
A ruse.
Yeah, she believes it was just a way to drum up sympathy for what she calls lawlessness.
Interesting. So she sees a direct link between what she considers lenient immigration policies and the death of her daughter.
Exactly. And finally, we have Alexis Nungare. Her daughter, Jocelyn, was only 12 years old when she was killed.
Oh my gosh, 12 years old.
Yeah, and two of the suspects in her case had immigration violations on their records.
In this case, if I remember correctly, this one became very politicized.
Yeah, absolutely. Trump actually used Jocelyn's death to attack Biden's border policies.
Right, and then Biden countered by bringing up Trump's actions on a bipartisan border deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It just goes to show how these personal tragedies are so intertwined with the broader political fight over immigration.
Right. And it's interesting because Alexis actually seems to echo Trump's stance.
You're right. She expressed gratitude for his efforts to tighten immigration enforcement.
Yeah, she clearly believed that those policies would bring justice for her daughter.
And you know, one thing that really struck me was how all three of these mothers, they felt like their daughters' stories were being ignored or overshadowed.
Yeah.
I remember Tammy said, they didn't cry for our daughters. And, you know, you can really sense their frustration and isolation.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking. It's a reminder that behind all the political rhetoric and policy debates, there are real people grappling with immense loss.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's easy to get caught up in the big picture, but these mothers' stories are so powerful and personal.
They are. And they really force us to confront the complexity of this issue, you know?
Yeah. The human cost of these decisions.
Absolutely.
Like, where do we go from here?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do we balance these individual tragedies with the need for a humane and effective immigration policy? It's not easy.
There are no easy answers.
Nope. But these stories, they really make us think, you know? They challenge us to consider all sides of this issue and to recognize the weight of these decisions.
Definitely. It's a conversation that we need to keep having.
Absolutely. And it's a conversation that needs to be informed by empathy, by understanding, and by a willingness to listen to all sides.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And that's our deep dive for today. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for having me.